Now, the reason I'm making this video is because 2 days ago, when the Seattle Kraken were in town playing off against the Calgary Flames, I saw a tweet made by Audie James, who is a very good friend of mine. He's a fellow YouTuber. He does stuff for the SDPN network. He's a true professional in every sense of the word, talking about Jonathan Huberdeau, recent Calgary Flames trade acquisition, and a guy that had scored at a great pace last year, being the second most productive NHL player behind Connor McDavid in points. Now, we know Huberdeau was a big trade chip involved in the Mateychuk trade a few months ago. He got sent over to Calgary from Florida, and this was supposed to be the replacement here for the Flames. You have Johnny Gaudreau, who had 115 points, leaving the team in free agency, and you had Jonathan Huberdeau, who also had 115 points, coming onto the squad to replace him. The tweet from Audie James that I saw that kind of inspired this whole video here says, "Experience Jonathan Huberdeau hockey." And in it is a screenshot of the song Invisible by Clay Aiken. This got a few likes, it got a few retweets, and it kind of got me wondering, wait a minute, Audie is calling Jonathan Huberdeau invisible. That's quite interesting. So I did my research, tried to search up what other Calgary Flames fans are saying about Huberdeau, take a look at the fantasy projections. You know what I actually realized? If you go into the Yahoo Sports Fantasy app and you take a look at each player, there is discussion going on in every single player's bio, which actually does give some pretty good insight as to how hot or how cold the players have been, because you got a lot of crazy fantasy nuts like me going on there and talking about each player's individual performance. And for Jonathan Huberdeau, the reputation for this guy really is probably in the worst spot it's been in years, because when it comes to Calgary Flames fans, a lot of them, based off of the sentiment that I've been seeing at least, seem to be a little bit disappointed in how Huberdeau has played thus far. As we know, he had 115 points last season, but this year, Jonathan Huberdeau has 5 points in 8 games played. 1 goal, 4 assists. I know the Flames are going out there and they're playing... Who are they playing today? The Nashville Predators at 6 p.m. PST, so hopefully this video is the wake-up call for a guy like Jonathan Huberdeau to really go out there and start dominating the score sheet like he had done consistently last year for the Florida Panthers. But Huberdeau definitely has not had the same level of success when it comes to his transition into the Calgary Flames organization. If you go over to his game log and you see where these points are coming from, he had a goal against the Pittsburgh Penguins, an assist against the Sabres, 2 assists versus Vegas, and another assist versus Colorado. He has gone pointless in 2 straight games, and he's only got 1 point in his last 4 games. Jonathan Huberdeau, despite the increase in ice time the past little while over here, has not necessarily been the Jonathan Huberdeau that we had expected to see immediately touch down in Calgary and start playing with Nazem Kadri. Now, Kadri, to his credit, has been pretty good. As I had said 2 days ago, I have him on my fantasy team, and it's been nice seeing him score a whole bunch of goals. But there are several people out there talking about how Jonathan Huberdeau, a guy who was second in the NHL in points last year, was one of their first, if not their absolute first pick in their fantasy drafts, and how they're disappointed because the guy is not producing like we all thought he would be. And in fact, it's Huberdeau himself who says the same. Take a look at this article published on the Calgary Sun by Wes Gilbertson yesterday. Flame star Huberdeau vows to be better. You guys haven't seen anything yet. I still have a lot of work to do, said Huberdeau. Obviously, it hasn't been easy for me at the beginning of the year. I'm way better than what I am right now. Now, at the moment, Huberdeau is on pace for 51 points in 82 games played, and if I'm going to be honest with you here, the guy hasn't had a season where he's produced fewer than 51 points since 2016-17, and in that campaign, he only played 31 games. If he continues on his pace right now, it would be technically the worst point-per-game season he would have had since 2013-14, which was 8 years ago. Jonathan Huberdeau is a good and talented playmaker, and when it comes to the way he's been playing, sure, this has been a very slow start. He's still trying to get adjusted to the new systems and I know some people are saying the climate, like, oh, it's the altitude, it's whatever, and Kadri was playing in Colorado, so that doesn't really bother him playing in Calgary, but either way, it has indeed only been 10% of the year. So there definitely is still room for a guy like Huberdeau to really showcase himself off in the best way possible with his playmaking, with his offensive creativity, and with the points, because that in and of itself is the ultimate dictator as to where things are going. Let's go back over to the Calgary Sun article and discuss quotes made by Huberdeau when it comes to his performance. Is it too soon to worry about the first-line left winger? Absolutely. Besides, there's shoveling to do. You guys haven't seen anything yet, Huberdeau promised. I'm not happy with myself right now. Daryl has been positive with me, so I think I just have to stick to it and just keep working. I know this has happened in the past, these stretches, and I just have to focus on my game and be better. I still have a lot of work to do. Obviously, it hasn't been easy for me at the beginning of the year, but I'm way better than what I am right now. I'm not creating nothing out there, so I have to start doing that. That's why they brought me here. I'm an offensive guy, and I have to play in their zone. I think I'm kind of running after the puck and turning over the puck. It's not me. I think it's an adjustment, but I have to be better, and that's what I'll do. The article brings up the critique made by Daryl Sutter of Huberdeau in Tuesday's post-game presser, telling reporters that the star playmaker was partially to blame for Seattle's shorthanded equalizer. He had failed to execute on his own entry, and also stressing that Jonathan has got to speed his game up. That's for sure. Huberdeau said about that quote, "I think that Sutter is right. I'm thinking a little bit too much out there, and I'm not moving my feet as I used to last year. I think I have to start doing that. Obviously, I want to do it as soon as possible, but I just have to relax and play my game. I know I'm a good player, I just have to come back to the basics." Daryl Sutter says that Huberdeau, guys like that, they're cerebral guys with the way they see the game, but you have to do it moving, and I think sometimes you can paralyze yourself a little bit. Hockey is 90% mental, Huberdeau says. I just have to be better mentally, and I think my game is going to come back. I know that. It's just when. Obviously, I want my next game to be efficient. Hopefully, that comes later today against the Nashville Predators. But pretty much, when it comes to Huberdeau and what he could be, there's a reason why a lot of people, myself included, said that the Calgary Flames, even though they were already so good at the end of last season, in the playoffs, etc., I know they lost in the second round, but still, that team on paper was very talented. There's a reason why so many of us said, hey, they might have honestly gotten better after the offseason, even though they lost out on Mateychuk and they lost out on Johnny Gaudreau. Mackenzie Weegar and Jonathan Huberdeau are two very good, talented players, and for Huberdeau especially, who was given that huge contract extension of $10.5 million AAV, that certainly isn't the caliber of play that we have been seeing so far. But the difference is, when it comes to players that are probably going to find a way to bounce back, you're probably more likely to see Huberdeau reflect and eventually become an 80-90 point player than stay at the 50 point pace that he is at right now. If the guy goes out there and puts up the worst season point per game wise that he has had since 2014 pretty much, I would honestly be really surprised, especially when you consider the contract and everything that's going to be kicking in later, the fact that it goes on till 2031 at 10.5. Could you imagine if that actually does happen though? What if Huberdeau becomes just a regular 50 point guy? He stays invisible for the rest of the way, and all of a sudden until 2030, the guy's being paid $10.5 million to just be a run-of-the-mill, middle six caliber, 60, 50 point winger. That, I feel, would be one of the worst case scenarios that might actually be realistic, but at the end of the day, I want to put my faith into the guy. I do think that he is going to be good, and Calgary Flames fans, y'all might have to just wait a tad bit more before Jonathan Huberdeau really awakens and becomes what we know he can be. Totally consider thoughts about Huberdeau and the games, the performances, the points, the lack of points, the invisibleness that he has shown off in his game so far. Let me know your thoughts about Huberdeau in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed this Juraj Roll 9, and bye.